Good evening. My name is Brooke Joyce. I am composer in residence here at Luther College and professor of music. Welcome all of you that are here in the Noble Recital Hall and also those of you that are watching the live stream on YouTube. This is the sixth and final event in the Center for Ethics and Public Engagement's 20-year remembrance of 9/11. And we're happy to share with you some music tonight that responded to that event and also music that kind of surrounded that event in various ways. We'll also hear from 8 community members recalling that day for them 20 years ago. And this is also part of our twice yearly Music in the Shape of a Pear concert series where we do contemporary music events. There'll be another one in the spring. Just to let you know, those of you in the audience and those of you watching on YouTube, the policies these days with regard to masks are such that our vaccination rate is very high, our spread is very low, and so vaccinated individuals are sometimes taking off their masks when they perform, just so you're aware of that, and some people will choose to keep their masks on. One thing that's a little bit different about this concert is I'm going to ask you to hold your applause until the very end so we can just enjoy the concert as sort of a continuous stream of words and music and memories. There will be a chance for you to stand up and stretch at the very end of the concert and also to sing and to snap and perhaps to dance a little bit. So I'll invite you to participate in that when the time comes.
still remember what a vivid sense of like excitement that I had about coming to work that day. I actually left home, I remember it was maybe around 7:30, 7:40 to come up to work in the library and, thinking what a beautiful day. I mean, I remember taking note of like what a beautiful day it was, how excited I was about, working on whatever it was. I don't have a recollection of what my plan was. I just wanted to get an early start. And I remember hearing on public radio as I was driving that a plane had hit the World Trade Center. And I thought, the first thing that sprang to mind was, it's just a crackpot in a one-seater plane, who flew himself into the towers just, who knows why. And I thought, well, gosh, that's an interesting story. So, parked at the library, came on in. I had a radio in my office, and so I usually was in the habit of turning the radio on right away. And I think that's when it sort of broke that it was much more than that. And so our classroom, the Hovde room, was actually at that point, it was still Hovde Lounge. And so there were just like rows and rows of chairs in there. And I thought, this is going to be something where people are going to need a space to see what's going on and to come together. And so I went into Hovde right away and turned on, figured out how to get the TV channel on there. And so it was live TV. And, I must have gone around to tell everybody that I had turned that on in there, and just if people wanted to gather in that space. And so people sort of came and went. It was either later that afternoon then or sometime after that there was a bomb threat in the library. And so we made an announcement, not that there was like a bomb threat in the library, but made an announcement for people to please exit the building. And then I was one of the people who went around to check to make sure that everybody was out. And then just sort of was like lingering in the front of the building. I remember people were worried about some of us still sort of like being in the building if there was a bomb threat. And I just remember thinking, well, we have to make sure that everybody's out of the building. We have to do that due diligence. And so then I think we finally maybe did go outside. I also remember later that day, probably when I got home from work, thinking how quiet it was because there were no planes flying. I mean, I felt like I could notice that. Not that you necessarily notice noise from planes these days anymore, but it just seemed unnaturally quiet from that.
Drums discordant sound, parading round and round and round. To thoughtless youth its pleasure yields, and allures from cities and from fields. To sell their liberty for charms of tawdry lace and glittering arms. And when ambition's voice commands to march and fight and fall in foreign lands, discordant sound, parading loss of ravaged plains, and burning towns and ruined swains, and mangled limbs and dying groans, and widows' tears and orphans' moans, and all that misery's hand bestows. To fill the catalogue of human woes.
On September 11th in 2001, I was in graduate school at Arizona State University for an anthropology and archaeology degree. A close archaeology friend had called and left a message on my answering machine. It was a graduate school, we wake up late. And he said to turn on the news, that something very, very bad was happening. This friend was former Navy, and he sounded really scared and worried, unlike anything I've ever heard from him before. It's very likely he was just calling everyone he knew, leaving messages for everyone to turn on the television. So I turned on my set and saw the video coverage playing over and over and over of the planes hitting the Twin Towers. And, you know, they had, at that time, they were even showing, there was live feed, they were showing people jumping out of the buildings, and like there was no monitoring. It was just live and everybody was glued to the televisions. So the first call I made was to my dad, and he lived in upstate New York, and he often went into the city to work. He worked for a corporation and their headquarters were there, and I couldn't get a hold of him. And I called and I called, and it was always busy, and came to understand that everybody was calling everybody they knew in New York, so all the lines were overloaded, and there was like, you were really lucky to get connected. So I spent a couple of hours just actually panicked, thinking, oh, he could have been in the city, he could have been in the city. And I finally called my stepsister, who lives in Kansas, and said, have you heard from them? Have you heard from our parents? And she said, oh yeah, they're here, they're in Wichita, they were golfing today. And so there was relief and anger that he didn't bother to let me know they were okay. My birthday is in mid-September, and I would always host the first graduate student social. We actually sat down and had to think about, like, is it okay to have a party? It didn't feel okay to have a party, that so many people had died, that we were in national mourning. But so many of us live so far away from our families, and we didn't have any way to work through the trauma. And so we did. There was a small group of like the closest friends. It was not so much a celebration, but we did gather because we needed to talk about it. We needed to talk about it with each other, and that was really important.
I was at home that day watching the morning news as I did most days and preparing to go to work at my Ocean small business. Employees were scheduled to open up that day, so I was in no particular hurry. And as I was watching TV, I saw a video of an explosion on one of the towers in New York City. Certainly there must have been a catastrophic malfunction with this plane. That had to be the only explanation. And my casual attitude of that morning quickly changed to a feeling of urgency. I phoned my employees to share the news and asked them to turn on the television. By the time I arrived at work, all eyes were glued to the TV and we were discussing the tragedy. Reporters showed the burning building and the smoke and the ever free fall of piles and piles of sheets of paper. While watching this event, it happened again. What were we seeing happening in real time? We actually witnessed another plane fly right into the side of the second tower. We watched as both buildings collapsed one by one and experienced a feeling of desperation. All these emotions ran amok. We felt disbelief and confusion, sadness, horror, empathy. Local residents and customers streamed into my shop to see if we had any more news and perhaps just to try to be together. I remember that so well that no one seemed to really know what to do. Throughout the morning, we learned more and of a possible terrorist attack and that other planes had also hit the Pentagon and a plane was forced down into an open field in Pennsylvania. What was going on? Now the emotions included panic. Was the US under attack? And then again, another emotion, the American pride, loyalty, and patriotism. Customers came in asking to purchase any item that displayed the American flag. It seemed as though people wanted to show their unity of support in our United States. It was an overwhelming emotion. As the workday ended, we started to hear about the gas shortages. I remember telling people, don't panic, it'll be fine, all will be fine. But before the day ended, I too was one of those waiting in line to fill my gas tank, and I was even willing to pay the quickly rising price of that fuel. I remember standing outside my house that night and looking up into the clear sky. It was eerily quiet. Not a single sight of a plane, as all flights had been canceled.
I used to come here every summer from Chicago. Rose used to babysit the kids next door. I'd fly a kite upon the roof and see her sitting in her room, or watch her walking to the store. She'd always chat upon the stoop with Nona, but I was much too shy to say hello. Still, she would always turn around and wave her hat before she'd go. Forget it, till one day the strangest thing. Upon my kite I found a letter fastened to the string. What does it feel like, this having the sky in your hands? Where can it reach? To New Jersey or more distant lands. So many ways to fly, Daniel, so many things to see. How I wish you would try, Daniel, sharing the view with me. And Saturday morning up to the rooftop she came, and we talked and we and I knew life would not be the same. And the We're no match for the love taking flight. Everyone thought we were crazy and moving too fast. We were just 17, but I knew that our feelings would last. Wait till you're done with school, Daniel. That's what my parents said. Don't be a total fool, Daniel. You've got your life ahead. And though all their warnings were something of which we were well aware, we got married in Delaware. And the warmth of her laugh, like a gentle guitar, and the clattering clang of the cans on the car, and the blanket of stars shining brilliantly white, were no match for the love taking flight. Let them laugh, she would shout. Let them see how I love you. Let them think we've committed a crime. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they do. Like she knew that there wasn't much time. I lost her 5 years to the day that I made her my wife. Funny expression, this, having a partner for life. Time's gonna help you through, Daniel. That's what my parents said. You're only 22, Daniel. You've got your life ahead. And the drown of her smile, and the beautiful sight of the sun in her hair, and the shimmering light. And thank God for the toll of the pain life can bring. Now if only I'd learned to let go of the string and the pull of the dream that I dreamed every night, on the memory of love taking flight.
And so we were sitting there watching the news as the second plane went into the South Tower. And I just was like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And, you know, of course, you know, thinking this is so removed from us right now. And then, you know, we're watching the news unfold, and then it shares that there was a plane that went down in the Pentagon. And I instantly I didn't know how quite to think or how to feel. It was really quite surreal because I knew Paul was in Washington, D.C. I didn't know where he was in D.C. I knew at some point he had mentioned he was going to be touring the Pentagon. I didn't know when that was. So just so many thoughts running through my head at that time, not knowing where is he at, is he okay? Immediately got on the phone to try and hear from him, you know, where he's at, and just busy signal because the cell towers were just jammed at that time. So I had no way of knowing, is he alive, is he dead, what's going on? And I don't think it really sunk in too much. I'm kind of the person to think of I'm not going to think the worst. Always have kind of that glass half full kind of thought until I know better. So just kind of went about my day for the next couple hours, but then we ended up having a bomb threat on campus in the middle of all this national disaster. And so again, young professional, just trying to figure out what's my next step. And you know, we're getting the students out of the halls. I'm running up and down the residence halls, knocking on doors, yelling at everyone to get out, get out. Lo and behold, it was nothing. Several hours later, it was all clear and we were fine. But it just, you know, was one other piece into this highly emotional day, just to have this bomb threat on campus. And so after kind of that whole day happened, finally it was late afternoon, maybe early evening, I ended up getting a phone call from the Farm Bureau agency. That was the agency Paul was traveling with, to say he's well. The group is okay, they're safe. They are trying to secure a bus passage out of the city. And so we'll update you when we know more, but just know that they're okay.
9/11 is a morning that none of us will forget. We all remember exactly where we were. I was actually in Olin building at Luther College on the 3rd floor, where at the elevator I had met a professor from Australia, and he was coming to visit in order to help establish a relationship between his university, an exchange between his university and ours in Luther College. As we were walking towards my office, he mentioned, "Isn't it terrible about that plane crashing into a building?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" I went into my office where I happened to have a television set and turned on CNN, and just as the program came on, we saw the second plane hit the other tower. The funny thing is about that morning, I never remember ever seeing that man again. We were stunned. We walked out of the building towards the Union, and crossing the lawn, I recall there were hundreds of people in similar states of disbelief. I went over to the Union and watched a television set where others were gathered, and that pretty much, as far as this gentleman from Australia, I don't remember his name even. I never saw him again, never heard from him again. But the next thing that happened was there was a bomb alert, a bomb threat. And so the entire campus gathered in front of the library lawn, wondering what's going to happen next. It was a very, very tense time.
We met, of all places, in front of Gristides, some freakishly cold winter's day. I had on several unflattering layers of wool. He slipped on the ice with his grocery bags full. So I rescued some Fruit Loops he dropped by the curb, and he made some remark that my smile was superb. Well, I thought that was sweet. And I started to go when he said, "Hey, what you doing tomorrow? Because I'll be here at the corner of Bleecker and Mercer tomorrow at 7. If you want to meet up, I'll be waiting right here. And in case there are 2 fellas waiting for you, my name's John." He waved and then he was gone. Needless to say, I went back there to meet him, mostly to see if he'd show. There he was, out in the cold, with his jacket pulled tight. He took me to dinner and kissed me goodnight. And the next week we went to this terrible play. And the week after that, drank hot chocolate all day. And then suddenly 8 or 9 months had flown by when he said, "Hey, what you doing the rest of your life? Because I'll be here right beside you as long as you want me to be. There's no question. There is nothing I've wanted so much in my life. This might sound immature, but I'm totally sure you're the one." And we had just begun. We got hitched in September, our favorite month, with a rock band that played in this old synagogue. And we bought an apartment on West 17th Street and talked about children and getting a dog. Our first anniversary came in a flash. He promised to take the day off. He had to stop into his office that morning, and so I went walking uptown to this bakery I know. When I heard on the street what I thought was a joke, and I noticed the sirens and saw the smoke, I went running back home with this feeling of dread to the voicemail he left. And the last words he said, sorry. I don't mean to ruin your evening by bringing up all of this stuff. You're probably wondering why I even called you tonight. Well, today something happened that spooked me all right. I saw a storm cloud of papers fall down from the sky, and I thought of that day, and I started to cry. And then sure as I breathe, I heard John clear as day, saying, hey, you're allowed to move on. It's okay, because I'll be here. Even if you decide to get rid of my favorite sweater, even if you go out on my birthday this year, instead of sitting at home, letting all of life's moments pass by. You don't have to cry, because I'll be here when you start going back to the places we went to together. When you take off my ring and you let yourself smile, and you meet someone handsome and patient and true, and he says that he wants to be married to you, and he calls you one night and you meet him downtown, and you finally answer him yes. Yes, I will marry you. I will give you my heart. It has taken so long, but I'm ready to start. Right now, John's whispering congrats in my ear, 'cause I finally let myself tell you that I will be here.
Then there was a gathering later in the morning on the area that is now Bentdale Commons. It wasn't the Commons at the time, it was just kind of a big grassy area. And so students started to gather there by the dozens, by the hundreds. And when I went out, I saw sitting apart from all these students, and frankly, most if not all of them were white, I saw 6 or 7 international students, women from Africa and North Africa, some in traditional, dress, others just sort of an American Western dress. And they were sitting out under a tree, a good maybe 100 yards, 200 yards from the mass gathering of students. They looked very isolated and lonely. And so I went over there, I knew one of them. And I said, oh, how are you feeling? And they said, well, we're scared. And I was thinking about this. I want to make it clear that I don't think they felt any imminent threat from the hundreds of their peers who were gathered a ways away. But I was imagining what it would be like to be of the religion or ethnicity of a group that attacked your country, and to be mistaken for that, or to be sort of associated with that, and to feel so incredibly isolated. And so I invited them to our house, and my wife Joy at the time and I then maybe just bought some food, made some things at home, and let these 6 or 7 women just spend the day at our house in what they felt was a safe space away from campus. And then I think about, I don't even think we were watching TV necessarily. They might have just been chatting or doing some homework if they could focus. And then I think about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I said, how do you guys feel? Are you ready to go back to campus now? And they said, yes. And so it was quite a memorable day for me, in that these students literally felt marginalized, literally were afraid. and just needed a place to be where they could gain a sense of peace and return to campus. And so when we think about that day, what's important for me is not only for us to think about what we Americans felt, but what our international students and what all sorts of folks around the world felt.
Here on these benches in the warm sun, ancient couples sit and wait for death. They absorb what they can of the wide field of uncaring life around them. They shall never have grown into old winter with you now. As time robbed me of waiting with you here. Oh, spared me.
I remember slowly waking up that morning, and it was in the 8 o'clock hour, Central Time, and hearing the news people talking about what was going on, and it seemed like it was a dream. Like what they were describing, I'm like, this sounds like something from a movie or whatever. And I was still, hadn't even opened my eyes. And then as I was waking up, it's just sort of like jolts you. There's that moment where both Josh and I were like, this is real life. Like something's going on. That's devastating. And we jumped up, we went to the living room and switched on the TV and sat down and watched TV for hours. We had a connection to New York City at the time because the group that Josh was singing with, is a vocal octet, had recently gotten an agency that was based in New York City. And so Joshua at the time was commuting. Another member in the octet had joined within the past year, and she was from Des Moines. We sang with her in Nordic choir, and she had moved herself to New York City already. She committed to do that. I have a very vivid memory of a phone call with her, and she was so confused, and she's like, are there more coming? Are there more coming? And we didn't know what she meant at first, and we realized like they really don't know. They haven't had information. She was terrified there were more planes coming.
Worked at Upper University, and I was also finishing my bachelor's degree. So I was taking a class in an academic building. And I knew I had to leave for a doctor appointment, and so I remember walking down the hall very distinctly and seeing this lounge area with students standing and looking at the TV up on the wall. And here it was just, it was like the initial reports of the first building being hit, and the news reporters were, this is happening, we don't know what's going on. And so knowing I had this appointment, I just left and with just that feeling of confusion of what's really happening here. What does this mean? And so as I drove to Decorah, I listened to the news, and again, everything was just unfolding. And I still remember on the way that there was another plane was hitting the building, so yeah, you remember those key pieces, right? So again, I just kept going. And during that drive, I'm just like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And so get to the clinic. And so here I'm at this appointment. And of course, this is before, I didn't even have a cell phone. So yeah, there's no social media outbursts or things like that. It's just what's really happening. And it was at that appointment where I heard my son's heartbeat for the first time. And it was so exciting, but still we were just, am I okay to be happy about this? It's like, this is just a weird place to be. Of course I was excited, it was my son's heart. But as I left and listened to the news again, everything was unloading, everything, more information. It just seemed like it for those first few days, that was all we could focus on or think about, and wondering, what does this mean?
much for being here tonight and being able to listen, learn, partake in music. But right now, we're going to be looking forward. We're going to be thinking about hope. So this piece is going to feel a little different. So as all different things need, we need a little change of pace. So I invite you to stand if you're able. And we're going to do a little step touch with me. And we're going to continue this throughout the thing because it's Bruce Springsteen and we can. So we'll do a little step touch. Let's go. And I'm going to teach you a part that's going to be very important later in the piece. So I'm going to sing it and we're going to repeat it until we feel like we get it. You ready? La 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 la. Y'all did. You were on that correct. Nice. I like that. So toward the end, we're gonna be singing a chorus throughout the whole thing, and it's going to, if you feel compelled to sing along, then we perfectly invite you. We're Dramatic Progression. Thank you so much for coming. This is The Rising by Bruce Springsteen. Can't see nothing in front of me. Can't see nothing coming up behind. Make my way through this darkness. Can't feel nothing but this chain that binds me. Lost track of how far I've gone. How far I've gone, how high I've climbed. On my back's a 60-pound stone. On my shoulder I have my line singing, come on up for the rising. Come on up, lay your hands in mine. Come on up for the rising. Come on up for the rising tonight. Left the house this morning. Bells were ringing and filled the air. I was wearing the cross of my calling. On wheels of fire I come rolling down here singing, come on up for the rising. Come on up, lay your hands in mine. Come on up for the rising. Come on up for the rising tonight. La 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 There's spirits loving behind me. Face gone black, eyes burning bright. May the precious blood bind me. Lord, as I stand before your fiery light, sky of blackness and sorrow, sky of love, sky of tears, sky of glory and sadness, sky of mercy, sky of fear, singing, come on up for the ride.